Tonight, Channel 2 News presents Earthquake Drill 7.1. Are we prepared for the next big one?
Alaska, America's last frontier. A country of breathtaking vistas and untold resources.
Alaska is a known quantity these days. It's commercialized, it's packaged, most obviously in the glut of reality television shows that are placed in Alaska.
Paradise, heaven, Alaska is all of these to the fishermen.
Back in 1964, that was not true at all. Alaska was a big white mystery to virtually all Americans.
How many people lived in Valdez back in those days?
Oh, Christ, I don't know. It wasn't near as big as this dump.
A magnitude 9, our rule of thumb, is it knocks you down. If it knocks you off your feet and you can't move, that's a 9.
The 1964 earthquake was a lot like hundreds of 1906 San Francisco earthquakes occurring all within this tiny 4.5 minute time period.
South Central while most were asleep.
That was the scariest thing I've ever experienced in my life.
A magnitude 7.1 earthquake felt from Anchorage to the valley to the Kenai Peninsula.
It was close to what I felt back in 1964 when we had the big earthquake.
A major threat that can strike at any moment. In Kenai, the quake triggered gas leaks and fires, destroying 4 homes.
It's very, very hard to look at. That's 6.5 years of mine and my children's lives.
But thankfully, no lives were lost. And across the region, only minimal structural damage.
Giant crack in the road. Humongous earthquake.
We were lucky this time, but Alaska is earthquake country.
I'm shocked that we don't have, way more damage than we did.
Tonight, Channel 2 News presents Earthquake Drill 7.1. Are we prepared for the next big one?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of the Channel 2 News Hour. After last Sunday's magnitude 7.1 earthquake, many Alaskans realize they are not as prepared for a big one as they might have thought.
Now tonight we'll go over several areas of preparedness to make sure you know what to do when the next one hits. And we all know it's not a matter of when, but if.
So the fact that we had an earthquake was no surprise, but the power it packed certainly was. The section of Cook Inlet where Sunday's big shaker was centered is in an area well known for producing earthquakes.
However, that quake did contain another surprise for geologists. Channel 2's Steve McDonald tells us about it.
This shows these aftershocks.
The section of Cook Inlet that produced Sunday's earthquake is no stranger to geologist Peter Heusler. Each year, thousands of earthquakes are sent rumbling from this spot.
These magnitude 3s, 4s, 5s, they're often related to the specific plates sort of bending and buckling and also getting pulled.
It's where the Pacific plate, moving 2 to 3 inches a year, slips beneath the North American plate and into the Earth's mantle.
We know that Alaska has a history of this process going on for more than 200 million years. So this is not something new that's happening here.
But what is new is the power generated by the Cook Inlet quake.
And we know that most commonly the upper end of that size range is around magnitude 7. And so no doubt this earthquake the other day was, near the largest of these kinds of earthquakes that we've recorded.
The North American and Pacific plates have combined to produce major earthquakes in other parts of the state. The massive 1964 quake sprang from where the line runs through Prince William Sound. And while Sunday's shaker was far smaller than the one in '64, it still had enough potential energy to do some major damage.
There's no doubt that I'd say that modern building codes probably made this earthquake have fewer losses than it might have 50 years ago.
Most Alaskans actually live on the Pacific plate. It's a geological hotspot right beneath our feet.
These earthquakes are an important reminder that we live in earthquake country and we need to be earthquake ready.
Be ready, because no one knows when the next big shake will happen. Steve McDonald, Channel 2 News.
One of the big differences between Sunday's earthquake and the 64 earthquake that caused so much damage is depth.
Now, the Sunday quake was around 80 miles down. The 1964 earthquake was just 12 miles below the surface. Joining us now to discuss the science behind the earthquake is state seismologist Dr. Michael West with the Alaska Earthquake Center up in Fairbanks. And Dr. West, thanks for joining us tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me. I think the most important lesson by far is that none of us felt the full force, the full brunt of a magnitude 7 earthquake. This earthquake was far away from Anchorage, 150 miles. Had it occurred in Anchorage, the ground motion, the shaking, would have easily been 10 times or more stronger. And I don't want to be alarmist, but it is my firm belief that if this earthquake occurred shallow, right in town, we would be burying bodies this week. That's a very, very different scenario than what actually is going on.
Frightening, it is. You mentioned that your furry friends seemed to have a slight warning that something big was happening. Here's what Bob Griffin's home security camera caught. Yes, the dogs definitely seem to have a warning about that one. And Ann Butterfield